Today, I'm going to be giving you a closer look at the Instant Pot, the new kitchen love of my life. I am definitely slow to the game at getting into this culinary tool, but on Amazon Prime Day, when I saw this on discount, I took advantage of that and got myself an Instant Pot Duo 6-quart. Okay, let's go ahead and open this up. I will show you me unpackaging the Instapot for the first time and all the things that come with it in the box. First, you've got some handy papers here. You have an instruction manual. You definitely want to go through the setup things and testing your pressure cooker, making sure everything works properly. You want to be familiar with the pressure cooker aspect of this before jumping into it. You also have a little recipe booklet, which is nice and gives you basic guidelines for cook times on meats. Your cook times in an Instapot are way different than, say, using like a slow cooker. So here's your cord here. It does fully detach from your Instant Pot. And here's the Instant Pot itself in all of its glory. It's wonderful. So small and compact. I don't think that I have ever put this away with my pots and pans. It's been on my countertop since I got it because I have literally used it every single day that I've cooked. So here's the pot. That lid locks on there and you twist to open and lift up. And you've got this removable pot on the inside. So you kick all your meals in there and then you take out that one pot. You can serve stuff in it and then you just wash it. So you've got like a measuring cup here. That little piece right here goes onto the back of your pot to catch moisture. And then you've got these two like ladling spoons that come along with it, which I'm not sure that I've actually used. I just use whatever. And then you've got your piece right there. It's your tray that sits up. So if you want to separate foods, you can put that right on top and set other foods on top. I use that quite a bit. And here's the actual pot itself. So see how nicely that metal pot just slides out and you've got all your food, everything that you cook is in there. And it washes really nicely. And cleanup with this is just nice and easy. Small little pot, you can do tons of things with it. This summer I have found myself in a cooking rut. I just have not had a lot of energy. I haven't been able to get the things that I've done. I've lost out on sleep definitely because my kids are home all day. And then when it comes time for dinner time, which comes very, very quickly, I find that I always, it's hard for me to commit to making a meal very quickly. I just don't want to do it. And so my love of cooking has really gone out the window. But the Instant Pot has been really great for me because I can make a nice, healthy, from scratch meal very quickly. And I'll show you some examples of some of the things that I've been cooking. So my focus since I got this was trying to use this one pot to cook all elements of my meals in here. You can do sides, you can do small things like that, but I've really been looking for good recipes and taking and adapting my own recipes to cook an entire meal in one single pot at one time. So that's what I've been doing with these meals that I'm going to show you here. So the first time that I used the Instapot, I decided to tackle meatloaf and mashed potatoes. Now this typically takes me about an hour and 20 minutes. I get the meatloaf ready. It cooks. That takes me, like 10 minutes or so. It cooks in the oven for a full hour. My house is really hot because the oven is on and I'm working over the stove to do the mashed potatoes. It takes time to cut them up, bring them to boil, and like 20 minutes of boiling, and then you got to mash them and do everything. So I decided I was going to do all those elements of my meatloaf and mashed potatoes at one time in the Instant Pot. So first I just took some yellow potatoes. I washed them off. I kept the skins right on there and just diced them up and put them in the bottom of my pot. Next, since those potatoes do need some liquid, you can either use water or I put chicken broth in here for a little extra something. I believe I just used like a cup of chicken broth that I poured over top of those potatoes. And then I use this separating piece in here. I forget what it's called. It just sits right on top. You do have to make sure that you don't have too much food so that doesn't keep your lid from closing. But I put that on top there so I could place my meatloaf on top of that. Next, I took my meatloaf I just did my regular meatloaf recipe, didn't change anything about it, and wrapped it in a little tin foil boat there to keep it separated from everything, sat it on top of that tray. And I made another little tinfoil boat with carrots in there, just raw carrots with a little bit of butter. I typically, when I make meatloaf and mashed potatoes, I'll put carrots into a pan and be boiling them. It takes me about as long to boil those carrots as it does the mashed potatoes, so I'll be doing that. So cooked carrots is something that we love to have with meatloaf and mashed potatoes, and I thought I will just throw that in here as well because I wanted to do not only the meatloaf and the mashed potatoes but also a vegetable on the side. And rather than having a pan in the oven and 2 pots for my vegetables on the stove, I've got them all inside the Instapot. So I've got all 3 of these parts of my meal that I put in the Instapot and put it on pressure cooker. Now once you start it on the pressure cooking, it does take a couple of minutes for that pressure to build, and then it will automatically start to cook from there. I set this for 25 minutes. So it took me a couple of minutes just to chop up those potatoes, to get the meatloaf made up, but then I put it in my pressure cooker and hit for 25 minutes, and meatloaf and mashed potatoes became fast food. I literally made this in like the same amount of time that it would take me to get in my car and drive to McDonald's and home. So it was amazing the amount of time, and then when I got it out, everything was just done so well. The meatloaf was thoroughly cooked. It was nice and juicy. Nothing was dry. The carrots were cooked nicely as well. And the potatoes, I had them there just cooked there at the bottom. I just took my cream, my butter, salt and pepper, and mashed them right into the pot. So I moved the meatloaf and the carrots and put them on a separate dish, and then brought that Instapot over to the table and served my mashed potatoes right out of there. My cleanup was so easy. I just had my plates and the Instant Pot itself, and that was it. Meatloaf dinner right there, which normally takes me over an hour, and it was so easy. 25 minutes in the Instapot. And then when you are done, you do a quick release of the pressure and just take a couple minutes for the pressure to escape. And then once that goes back down, you're free to open it and take your food out. So my first meal was a success. It was delicious. It was easy. The cleanup was easy. I'm a creature of convenience, so right away I was hooked. The next night I'm back at it for more, and I decided I was going to do total meal in one pot yet again, and I wanted to do some healthy fish and vegetables. So I got some red potatoes, diced them up, threw them in the bottom of my pot. I added some carrots also, and I made a lemon butter garlic sauce to go over top. I put my fish in there. This is halibut, really large pieces of halibut. I poured my sauce over top and then just seasoned with salt and pepper. And there's my finished product. You guys, the fish in the pressure cooker cooks so quickly. I set this for 4 minutes, and then I let the pressure naturally release for 5 minutes, and then I moved the valve to vent from there. So this did not take a lot of time at all. In fact, my fish came out a little bit chewy, tasted slightly overdone, so I have to play with that a little bit. These were really large pieces of halibut. My vegetables were really nicely done. I think I could have done less time because it's a little bit chewy. So I just need to play with that fish a little bit more. This is the first time that I did something that wasn't just a small fillet of fish. This was something that was caught and then frozen, and it was really large. Came out a little bit chewy, but everything tasted really good. I made one meal that I forgot to take pictures of, but it was so easy and nice, I'm just going to talk about it anyway. So I did an Instapot chicken cordon bleu casserole. So I put rotini pasta in there, raw chicken, and then I had ham that I cubed up and threw that in there and cooked this on high pressure for 10 minutes. That was it. So cooked the raw chicken and the noodles at one time, and then I used heavy cream and mustard and a couple types of cheeses that I made a sauce with that went in there, and it came out just tasting like a nice casserole. I didn't have to cook the chicken ahead of time. I put the raw pasta, the raw chicken, the ham in there, made a separate sauce. 10 minutes later, I'm putting the sauce in, mixing it around, and I've got this great easy casserole dish. And the next meal that I made was my favorite. I made a chicken Alfredo pasta. We love Alfredo chicken dishes. So this was an easy pleasing one for my family. And it was the first time that I used the saute function on the dish. So just like using a saute pan on the stove, you can do that in one pan with the Instant Pot and then throw your ingredients in and cook it all. So I'd only used pressure cooker up to this point. But for this one, I took my 2 chicken breasts and I seasoned them, and then I sauteed just until it was browned on both sides. And I just put a little bit of olive oil in there and sauteed. And I didn't need to, the pot's kind of deep, so stuff wasn't spraying out. I didn't have to put any kind of lid on to cover it. And then I took that chicken out, and from there, I threw in some garlic and sauteed that for a minute. And then I took chicken broth that I poured in there and kind of used a wooden spoon to scrape off any like burnt bits sticking to the bottom of the pot. And from there, I put in my uncooked pasta and heavy cream and salt and pepper, and then put the chicken back on top. So I've got that seared off chicken that's not quite cooked the whole way through, and the uncooked pasta. Stirred all those ingredients together, and then turn that saute off and lock the lid on to do a pressure cook. And I put it in there for 10 to 15 minutes, or you can use, I may have used the poultry function as well, which I believe is 15 minutes. And then I did the quick release on the pressure valve. And sometimes when you've got like a lot of liquids there on the top, it can spit out a little bit. So just be careful. And if it sprays out a little bit, just let it go for another minute and then try again. So I didn't have any huge problems with that any of the times that I've used it, really. You just want to make sure that your face isn't right up against the steam as it's coming out. Kind of obvious, but you know. Anyway, so I opened it up, took that chicken out, let it rest for a minute, made sure that it was thoroughly done and it was cooked really, really nicely. Stirred together the pasta and the cream mixture that I had in there, and I added Parmesan cheese to it, and then sliced up the chicken and threw it back in there and mixed it up. And then I just served with some extra salt and pepper, and you can put a little bit more Parmesan on top and some parsley. And this one was so delicious, and it was easy. I did a little saute, but it was in one pan, and then I was able to saute my garlic and my chicken, and then put the uncooked pasta in there, put my sauce in there, put the chicken in, and it all cooked together in 10 to 15 minutes. It was awesome. So besides taking regular recipes and just adapting them to use in here, I've also taken some slow cooker recipes and just adapted them slightly to use in the pressure cooker and cut my time so much. So usually when I do like a chicken and vegetable meal that I put in the crock pot, there's advanced thought, and I put it in there and it cooks for 3 to 4 hours, right? But this one you could kind of do at the last minute. So this is what I did one night, just grab my chicken, and I usually do like an Italian chicken and vegetables. So I'll put potatoes and carrots and green beans, which are all underneath here in this picture, into my pot, and I put I just took Italian dressing marinade, poured it over top of there to be the liquid that it cooked in. And then I kind of don't like when my chicken, when raw chicken cooks in there and there's like little chicken pieces that are all over your vegetables. So I put this in a little foil, the chicken on top, and then put my marinade, my dressing on top of that, and closed it and cooked in the pressure cooker using the poultry button, and everything came out being nicely cooked. I just took that chicken off the top, diced it up into pieces, and threw it back in there with the vegetables. Easy, easy. And that is my long-winded way of showing you this Instant Pot and talking about all the things I've cooked in it so far. I haven't had this for very long, but I have loved every minute. It has made me much less overwhelmed about cooking a meal, because I just love that I can either cook an easy side in here and it doesn't take long. For instance, you can do hard-boiled eggs or rice or baked potatoes in here so quickly. But I love that I can take all my ingredients and throw it in here for one meal, that I'm using one pot, and then I just feed. I can, most of the time I serve out of that same pot. So when I'm done with dinner, that makes my cleanup so much easier. I just have our dishes to collect and wash, and I just wash out that Instant Pot and put it right back in, and I'm ready to go again for tomorrow, rather than having several pots and pans and dishes that I need to wash by hand or throw in my dishwasher. It just makes cooking so much faster, cleanup so much easier, and it really, really has made a difference for me in saying, rather than just having some frozen processed junk or going out and getting something when I don't have a whole lot of time, I can still make a healthy homemade meal, tons of vegetables and proteins, whatever I want to make, soups, chilies, just throw in this Instant Pot, and it just makes it so much easier when you're on the go and you're busy with a family, or maybe you work full time. You can still come home and prepare a dinner in about a half an hour that will taste like something that you've been working on for over an hour or half a day in a slow cooker. And it is awesome. I am a huge fan of the Instant Pot. So if you feel like you are in a food rut and you just don't want to cook anymore and you're kind of giving up the way that I have been this summer, it may be worth a try to look at this Instant Pot. You can do, besides pressure cooking, you can do tons of stuff with this. I believe it's the claim that it replaces 7 different appliances. I just love the pressure cooking and the fact that I can saute and make broths and make rice and make all of that stuff just here in one pot, and it's so fast and so easy. So you can look down below in my write-up and I will have a link to the product that I just bought, this one on Amazon, if you want to go and check it out. And that has been your closer look at the Instant Pot.